So, when you picture the Parthenon today, you probably see this incredible, iconic ruin sitting on a hill above Athens. But what if I told you this building has an epic 2,500-year-old story, and it all revolves around a lost treasure of gold and ivory that was once locked away inside its walls? All right, let's get into it. Right? This is the central mystery we're diving into, because at the very heart of the Parthenon once stood one of the ancient world's most spectacular works of art, a colossal statue of the goddess Athena. And then, poof, at some point, it just vanishes from the historical record, completely. So where in the world did it go? So meet the Athena Parthenos. Now, this wasn't just some fancy decoration. This statue was the entire reason the Parthenon was built. The whole temple was basically designed as this massive, beautiful marble case to protect her. The original is long gone, of course, but thanks to old descriptions and Roman copies, we have a pretty good idea of what she looked like. And you just have to wrap your head around the scale here. We're talking 11.5 meters, or about 40 feet tall. The sculptor, Phidias, created something that would have been absolutely awe-inspiring. It would have just dominated the room, staring down at anyone who dared to enter. And it wasn't just big, it was unbelievably valuable. The statue was covered in over a ton, that's 1,140 kilograms of pure gold, all wrapped around a wooden core. And get this, the gold was designed to be removable. The statesman Pericles even said it could be used as a kind of emergency fund for the city of Athens if things got really bad. And Phidias went all out on the details. I mean, every single surface told a story. Her helmet was crawling with mythical creatures. Her shield showed this legendary battle between Greeks and Amazons. Even the sides of her sandals had carvings of a fight against the centaurs. It was just this masterclass in storytelling, a giant golden metaphor for Greek victory over their enemies. So how does this all connect back to the building? Well, it's right there in the name. Parthenon literally means House of the Virgin. It comes directly from the statue's title, Athena Parthenos, or Athena the Virgin. The building was, first and foremost, her home. If you really want to understand how important this statue was, you just have to follow the money. And this is going to sound wild, but the statue of Athena Parthenos actually cost more to create than the entire Parthenon temple itself. That tells you everything you need to know about Athens' priorities. This was a treasury and a tribute first, a building second. So the Parthenon was built during the absolute peak of Athenian power, what we call the Golden Age of Athens. It was basically a giant victory monument after they defeated the Persians, and it doubled as the bank for the Delian League, which was Athens' military alliance. It was a massive statement to the rest of the world that said, we are wealthy, we are powerful, and we are in charge. But what about the statue? The honest answer is, we don't know for sure. The trail just goes cold. But with its crown jewel gone, the Parthenon story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning this new 1,000-year journey through different faiths. The building would survive, but its identity, that was about to change, over and over again. Okay, fast forward to around the 6th century. The Parthenon gets a total makeover. It's converted into a Christian church. The great statue is gone, pagan sculptures are systematically damaged, the whole building is reoriented to face east. They add an altar, a pulpit, and the temple of Athena the Virgin, Parthenos, becomes the Cathedral of the Virgin Mary, Parthenos Maria. A really profound symbolic flip, but one that cleverly echoed the building's original purpose. Another 1,000 years fly by, and another empire takes over. In 1458, the Ottoman Turks capture Athens, and the church becomes a mosque. They added a minaret, sure, but they actually made fewer changes than the Christians had. In fact, one Turkish traveler in the 1600s called it one of the finest mosques in the entire world. And you can just feel the awe people still had for it. Listen to this from that traveler, Evliya Çelebi, written just 20 years before everything changed. He saw it as something divine, a work of heaven itself that should remain standing for all time. The irony is just heartbreaking. Because just 2 decades later, this happened. The Ottomans were at war with Venice. They fortified the Acropolis and made a truly catastrophic decision. They used the Parthenon, this 2,000-year-old architectural marvel, as a place to store their gunpowder, thinking it was the safest spot on the hill. They were tragically wrong. On September 26, 1687, a Venetian motor shell arced through the sky, hit the building, and ignited the gunpowder.
The explosion was apocalyptic. It blew out the entire center of the building, vaporized dozens of columns, destroyed huge chunks of the priceless sculptures, and killed around 300 people who were sheltering inside. In one fiery blast, the Parthenon went from an ancient, intact building to the ruin we know today. In the century that followed, the ruins were basically picked apart. And that brings us to the most famous, or depending on who you ask, infamous example, a British diplomat named Lord Elgin. Between 1801 and 1812, he arranged to have about half of all the surviving sculptures sawed off the building and shipped back to London, kicking off a controversy that is still raging today.
Now, you'd think trying to fix it would be a good thing, right? Well, early attempts in the 1890s were a disaster. They used iron clamps to hold the marble together, but the iron rusted, expanded, and literally cracked the ancient stone apart, causing even more damage. Compare that to the modern approach. Since 1975, it's been this massive scientific project, using non-rusting titanium and advanced tech to carefully undo past mistakes and save what's left. And this is a monumental effort. We're talking about teams inventorying thousands of scattered pieces, big and small. They use computer models to solve the world's most complicated 3D jigsaw puzzle, figuring out exactly where each fragment belongs. They even get new marble from the very same quarry the ancient Greeks used, and they move the original, priceless sculptures into the museum to protect them. Which brings us right up to today. The incredible art that once made the Parthenon whole is now scattered across the globe. About half of it is safe in the Acropolis Museum in Athens, but a huge chunk, over a third, is still in London. Other pieces are in Paris and elsewhere. The collection, the art, it's all fundamentally divided. And this division leaves us wrestling with a really profound final question. The debate over the Parthenon sculptures, the Elgin marbles, it's not just about museum policy or national pride. It forces us all to ask something much bigger. Who owns cultural heritage? Where does it truly belong? And what is the rightful home for a masterpiece that has survived empires, religions, and catastrophes? It's a question that's just as enduring as the monument itself.